Another flyweight fight, Kai Kara France. So he's essentially the only person out of the 3 city kickboxing fighters that actually won.
Yeah. Oh, well, because I remember last time it was the other way around. He lost his last fight to Brandon Royval.
Exactly.
We watched that fight on the Paulo Costa versus Israel Adesanya card. Now, Kai Kara France, I thought he'd lost that fight in the first round. Reason being is his opponent had his back for a majority of the fight. He had a rear naked. He had one arm around. Now, the only thing that was stopping him from getting that rear naked, he had control of his other arm, and he was using his neck just to tilt him, because obviously when you got a rear naked, you want to use your chin to tuck it in underneath the arm so they can't actually get the full choke in. And he was doing that pretty well. But then he can see by the end of it, he was starting to get really tired because it was really starting to sink in, because Rio had that triangle around his waist, and that triangle was not pretty. It was really starting to squeeze. It was really starting to suffocate. And the point where Kara actually got back up while Ruggiero was on his back. And then Ruggiero pulled him back down into a slam. And then he had that rear naked. But then Kai Kara France managed to keep his hips high and managed to just quickly just roll out of it, reverse out of it, stand up, throw an overhand right. Then used his left hand to measure up, throw a right uppercut, and then another overhand right. Ruggiero goes down
all on his right hand.
All on his right hand.
All on his right hand.
Yeah, because he was using his left one to hold for distance control. Ruggiero goes right down, slumps right down, tries to get back up, flails over. Kai Kara France, the referee's already stepped in, but he hasn't actually waved off the fight. You know what I mean? And then what happened was Kai Kara France did a quick lap.
And his coaches tell him to go.
His coaches say, no, he's not done. He's not done, pointing towards him. He runs over to him and he's doing a hammer fist. He's about to do a standing hammer fist on him. A referee just quickly pushes him off, waves it off. Ruggiero gets up and throws his mouth guard at him as if he's as if he's still in the fight. So that's when it was a bit of a confusing stoppage.
Confusing because
he thought he was still in it, you know what I mean? Or he thought he was taunting him.
Let's be real, Bontorin got hit with a heavy shot and he fell face forward on his face, on his forehead, and he tried to get up, and when he tried to get up, all his weight stumbled forward. He knocked his equilibrium off.
Yeah.
He was knocked out.
He was knocked out. He was just dazed, and
it wasn't a shot that turns the light out.
Yeah.
But it turned out it cut
shuts
the
off the system,
shuts off the connection with his legs. His legs were just jelly. They were just jelly.
Yeah.
Tried to get up, it didn't work. Literally just saved him taking punishment from Kai. He would have just hammer fisted him and it wouldn't have been a pretty sight.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I reckon it was good for the referee to wave it off just then. Otherwise, he would have sustained so much more damage. I could tell he was definitely upset about it, and I would be too, because he was dominating the first round. I mean, he managed to knock down Kai Kara France. He actually punched him, knocked him down, and then he took his back. And then that's when he had him at his back for the majority of the fight. And then Kai Kara France got in those punches literally and won within the last 5 seconds of the first round. It was an amazing comeback. I get proud. I mean, he managed to do it.
It was a good comeback considering how much he was taken out by it wasn't. I guess it's a standing guillotine. I guess. What's interesting is when I'm looking at the UFC rankings is they've made a little bit of a typo. They haven't got Kai Kara France as number 9 ranked. He's ranked number 8, as well as Rogério Bontorin. They're both number 8, which doesn't make sense. If Kai was originally number 9, he's beaten Bontorin. He's now taken that number 8 place. His next fight should be against someone closer to the top 5.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Let's talk about, because this is flyweight.
Why
don't we have Kai Kara France versus Benavidez next?
You could have that, actually. That would be a good fight. Perhaps you could also have maybe Alexandre Pantoja, or you could have the rematch with him against Brandon Royval again, since Royval's last fight didn't go his way either.
No.
So that would be an interesting fight as well.
Yeah.
I
And
want to see that.
I would like to see that as well, considering they both were. I remember when Brandon Royval lost against was it Brandon Marino? Yeah, Brandon Marino
Who?
was. Brandon Royval's loss was to Brandon Marino. Yeah. At what point I remember in that fight, Brandon Marino had Brandon Royval's back and had him in a neck crank as well. So, but they both had that same flaw of exposing their back. So I think that could be a good rematch, because I remember when we watched that fight, it was a fun fight. It was, it
very
went
back and forth.
Yeah, it was very back and forth, very even match, and I think Brandon Royval won in the first round as well.
I believe so. It was just that, when he sunk in this guillotine, hooked his legs in, and Kai was trying to fight it, and it looked like he was going to get out, but he was just in that position for far too long, and it was less of a guillotine choke and more of just squeezing his head tight. Squeezing his head tight.
Mm-hmm.
No, I apologize if I get the name wrong, but it's Kennedy. I think it's Zejiku against Carlos Ulberg. Interesting matchup, considering Kennedy, I believe he's only had one loss in the